That is. Can you hear me okay, everyone? Great, thank you. I'm Carmen Best. I'm the Deputy Chief of the Seattle Police Department. Thank you, Kathy, Department of Neighborhoods, for hosting this meeting. Certainly, Councilmember Gonzalez and Councilmember Herbal for having us here. It's my great pleasure to be here tonight. And I'll start it off, and then Captain Davis will finish it up with some of the information from the precinct. But, you know, I just want you to know that South Park is very, very important to us. And we talk about it, we being the command staff, Chief Wilski, who's here, and Captain Davis, who's of the precinct. Chief Wilski is operations chief. He's the head of all patrol operations in the city. We talk about the issues in South Park and what we're doing here. The community here is very, very important to us. And I want to tell you, we hear about it. We read the emails. We hear from Councilmember Gonzalez. I like her a lot, but boy, oh boy. she holds our feet to the fire, and so does Councilmember Herbal. And that's their job, right? To hold our feet to the fire. So we hear from them pretty frequently. Our overarching goal across the city, including in South Park, of course, is to reduce crime. We want to make sure that people are living in an area that's safe, that makes them feel safe, and where safety is a primary concern. We know that there's some recent incidents here with vandalism, shots fired, and some other things that are happening. And I can assure you Captain Davis is going to talk about that and answer some of these questions for you tonight. But I just want to talk about a couple of the other areas that are really important. Not only just working in this community because it's a wonderful community that's thriving and growing, but we know we have a really strong Latino population in this community. And because of a lot of things that are happening, we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable reporting crime to the police department. That they know that there's a city ordinance, and by our own policies, that we don't check a person's status, their immigration status. We want people. We want everyone in this community to feel safe, to feel comfortable reporting crime to law enforcement. It's very important to us. And in fact, I will tell you that myself and Chief O'Toole, we sit on a national law enforcement immigration task force, a task force of law enforcement officials from across the country who sign on to make sure that we are supportive of good legislation that makes sense for both our DACA and our Dreamers. So we are very much supportive of that. And youth. We're very committed to young people. We've worked really hard in this area. Lieutenant Diaz, who stands in the back chatting with Jerron from the Parks Department, I know these folks, they work so hard with others here to make sure that we are making an impact on youth, that we are doing intervention and prevention so that we, one, keep young people out of jail, but also keep neighborhoods safer and more livable for the people and the residents here. Very important to us. In the summer, we have hired over 81 young people in the Seattle Police Department, and this last summer we hired 32 young people, many of them who live in this very area. They had jobs, they had employment, they got to connect with the officers. It was a good thing, and we're very, very proud of the work that's gone on here. CPAL, which is our Seattle Police Activities League, which is supported by our Parks Department. We have officers who go out with young people, they play sports, they do mentoring, and they work with young people in this community, as a matter of fact, to make sure that we're having the impact that we should, again, with young people who live here. And we really couldn't do our work without the support of everyone. We always say, and anybody in this room, the officers will tell you that we always say, we are all in this together. This is all about all of us. This is our city, our community, our neighborhoods, our people, and we're invested. We're seriously invested in it, 100%. And it's people like Carmen Martinez. I know Carmen's in here somewhere. Where is she? Oh, okay. Like Carmen Martinez, Paulina Lopez, I see Paulina, and also Laura says, Laura chairs our South Park Neighborhood Association. Those are just a few of the folks in the room that I know that work hard with us, that know Lieutenant Diaz, that know our officers, that know Captain Davis, that know the officers from the South Precinct. And I'm just going to reiterate to you our strong commitment to making sure this neighborhood is safe. It's not lip service. We're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to work very hard. Our council members who are here tonight hold our feet to the fire, and we're very serious about it. So I'll turn it over to Captain Davis to give you more specific details, but I just want to make sure that you know that we're here and that we're serious about it. I'm the deputy chief. This is your assistant chief. This is the captain. All ranks, all areas, we're invested. All right, Pierre?
Once again, thank you for having all of us here. We have spoken, I know Lieutenant Smith, he's handing out some flyers right now. Our community policing team, our community policing team officer, John O'Neill, is responsible for this area, who works very closely with the neighborhood associations here. We heard exactly what you're saying, and we're not going to brush anything under the rug. As you can see, you have some very high-ranking officials, who happen to be my bosses, that are holding our feet to the fire. But what's more important, that we are working together with our community, who equally are as important to us, who hold our feet to the fire. And we've gotten singed a lot. We've heard your cries. In fact, I don't think I have any toes left, but that's okay. There's been a number of incidents that we focus upon primarily here in the South Park area, and I'm just going to read a couple off to you. Shots fired incidents, which culminates into our gang issues that we're monitoring. The property damage issues, in which we were hot and heavy on just last month, which really spurned a lot of issues and a lot of concern in the community. Our property crimes, which seems to ebb and flow with the individuals that we have an opportunity to arrest and keep in jail. And then the other nuisance activities that we're looking at, such as our properties and our RV encampments and our homeless encampments, which we know oftentimes spurn a lot of different criminal type activity because of the individuals that inhabit them. So we're looking at those, we're addressing those as they come up, and we're putting the right type of resources out there at various times, depending on the heightened level of concern there. One of our major strategies for South Park is the continuous directed patrolling of the observed problems here. Now, we've heard loud and clear exactly what you guys are seeing, and I can boast numbers all we want. And in fact, our numbers are quite low at this point in time. But we also deal with the fear of crime as well. We also deal with the perception as well. So numbers a lot of times don't mean a lot to us. We can fall back on them. But if our community is not feeling safe, then we're not hitting the mark. And we want to hear from you. I always say this in a lot of our community meetings. It's not the community against the police, it's the community with their police officers going forward. That's the way it has to be for us to conquer and deal with a lot of crime concerns here in your neighborhood. And if we're not hitting the mark, I want to hear about it. If we are hitting the mark, let us know. We'll do more. But that lets me know exactly where and how much or what type of resources that I need to put into to address a certain problem in your communities. One of the things that I'm really happy about, we had the opportunity to get a full-time bike squad for some of the requests from a lot of our community members here. Before, it was ad hoc at best. I was taking away from my patrol squads to form a bike squad, which was very, very difficult to do depending on the level of staffing that I had. But now we have 6 full-time officers and 1 full-time sergeant to supervise. So that resource I can put anywhere I need to address any crime problem. And I have to say, quite honestly, the South Park area has seen a lot of my bike resources from the beginning of the year. They really have. And a lot of you have echoed that, and I appreciate that. If you've seen them and you've seen what they do, and you appreciate that, let us know. Again, if they're not hitting the mark and you're not seeing them like you say that you're not sometimes, I want to know that too. And I want to be able to put those resources out there so they can do the most good. Also, our anti-crime teams, there are a more covert team that we have out there, and they address issues on a more covert level. Oftentimes, I'm not at liberty to say exactly what these individuals are up to, just like some of our detectives, because sometimes it compromises the ongoing investigation, and we don't want that information out there. There's a couple of times when that has happened, and it only serves to retard a lot of the efforts that we have going forward. And we don't want to take 5 steps forward and 10 steps back because of letting too much information out. But we will, once it's all said and done, and we do have something that we can report, we will make sure that we report that out to you. Narcotics in the gang unit have been instrumental. Earlier on, if you can recall, there were a spate of shots fired incidents in the South Park neighborhood, which spurned getting together a lot of the task forces that are going on today. Quick, fast, and in a hurry, we put the right, the most appropriate type of resource out there, and it became multi-jurisdictional. Not only from Seattle the standpoint from Seattle Police Department or from King County Sheriff's Office to Kent, to Bellevue, to Federal Way, to Renton, to Auburn. That's how broad a lot of those shots fired incidents were. And I know, Laura, we had a nice sit-down talk with a number of the community members here, and pretty much got to the bottom of exactly where we needed to be. And I was able to give a lot of good information on that. To date, there were a lot of individuals that were arrested because of those enforcement efforts, and for the most part, that segment of the shots fired issues seem to have subsided. Now, they're still going on, and we do realize that, and we want to know exactly what we are to be looking for and looking at. There's certain problematic houses that are here in the South Park area that we're dealing with. We're trying to address it as best we can through law, and we're also addressing it through the assistance from SDCI. Try to get a once and for all, let's see if we can take care of the problem once and for all, so we can have some type of sense of calm in the South Park area. Okay? Also, the night patrols that we have here, I have a line share, and like I said, I've heard your pleas for additional officers. Now, at any one given point in time, I have anywhere between 16 to 18 officers out on the street at night, period. Now, what we've been able to do is basically address the issue by getting more resources on an overtime basis for our problem hotspots, not only in West Seattle as a whole, but a lot of the resources we have placed here in South Park. And our 09 cars is what we use a lot of the times for that, and our emphasis cars. And those officers are out here on an overtime basis. And they are making some very, very nice arrests out there. And unfortunately, these are individuals that we have arrested time and time again. The second strategy that we're using is getting with our prosecutors for those individuals that are repeat offenders. Let's see if we can give these guys some more time behind bars, which is help, which is work, so they can't go out and terrorize the neighborhoods like they're used to doing. And right now, I'm not going to take too much time, and I'll open it up for questions here. But right now, because of those efforts, year